And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, July 5th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 27. I'm Scott.
I'm Dennis.
And I'm RJ.
And welcome to the show. That's all. Yes. Regardless of what you might think from last week's episode, me and James picking on Nathan as we did, he isn't here because we actually fired him, like we said. He's not here because he's got family in town. It is a holiday weekend here in the States. 4th of July was yesterday, and so nice 3-day weekend. People get family in town, that sort of stuff, and that's what he's got going on. So James is not here, I would say for the exact same reason, just to piss him off. But no, he's not here because he's got work. And we thought he may or may not be here. We're not sure. And he may show up. He may show up a little bit later. And I'm actually hoping that he does because he's had some time to play Sniper Elite 3, and I would love to get some input from him on that as well. So no James, no Nate, but we do have Dennis. We do have RJ, who were not here last weekend. It's kind of a trade-off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where were you guys last week? RJ, what were you up to last weekend?
Last weekend was Jesus.
It was last weekend. What did you have?
Weekend.
Yeah.
Goodness, family.
Whole weekend.
Apparently it was a good weekend for RJ.
Man, no. It was family. I was getting together with folks for a get-together at Lake Martin. They had to get me out there to help with the preparations and everything, so I spent the day with them. Yeah. Prepping out for everything. So, yeah, that was where I was last weekend.
And Dennis, what were you up to?
I was up in Atlanta. A friend of mine graduated from college recently.
Okay. Yeah.
And
congrats.
So we were spending some time together, just having fun playing a bunch of board games. And
what'd you play?
A game called Dead Panic. Mm-hmm. It is a game where you are working against the game. Everybody's together against versus the game. Basically fighting off zombies in a cabin in the woods type situation.
I'd love to do a board game discussion. I'd love to play more board games.
I'll say I've got like 30 or so board games sitting in my attic that haven't been used in a while.
I know it's. I know it works in some places, but at least here, or at least with our little circle, it's a little bit difficult to.
I mean, with board games, it's hard to get together, get everything.
It's hard to do that online nowadays with trying to schedule us, trying to play something together. It's hard to do that online, but yeah, board games are a lot of fun. Only time I get to play board games is when I go to PAX in Seattle or PAX in Boston. Usually just either of the PAXs is when I get to play some board games. Somebody will bring one to a pub or wherever we're at, to a hotel room, and we'll play board games. And that's usually my only experience with them. But then you'll go through the halls, or not the halls, you'll go through the...
they have a dedicated gaming room.
They have a dedicated gaming room, plus they got vendors selling tons of board games. And there's tons of them there, and it's like, I would love to buy this, and this, because it looks great on the cover. The cover box looks great. I don't really know how it plays, but I'd love to buy it. And there's some that I have played. Oh, gosh.
Catan, probably.
Well, yeah. I've played
Everybody's
all of those.
played Catan by now.
Carcassonne. Ticket to Ride. What is the other one? It's one of the Arkham Horror series.
Arkham Horror?
Well, there's that. But there's like the Haunting Hill House or something. I can't remember what it's called. But I played that, and I really, really enjoyed that. So, yeah, STM Fuller's in the chat room saying, "Oh, is this a board game edition?" No, because I don't know enough about them. And Dennis, again, would be our expert here on them, or at least as much of an expert as we got for it, you know.
I play a lot of board games, so...
Yeah.
I just picked up Talisman on Steam. Haven't started it yet, but looking forward to that.
I didn't know that was on Steam.
Yeah. It was one of the Steam sales going on. And got that in a whole bunch of character packs. Still haven't loaded it up yet, but I'm looking forward to giving that a shot.
Man, board games are so much fun. They really are. If you find a really good one, and the rules aren't too complicated for everybody to figure out, you could find a good one.
That's half fun. Usually when we're playing a complicated board game, I get handed rules and say, here, solve them.
Yeah. Translate these for the rest of us.
Yeah.
So that we can figure out what you're saying. By the way, if you're calling us right now, I will get to you. Just keep calling. Nate's not here, so just keep calling or letting it ring, and I will get to you in just a minute. Go over the list of some of the board games you got, Dennis, while I get this phone call.
Catan, Carcassonne. Goodness, I have an old game based on the comic Knights of the Dinner Table called Orcs at the Gates, which was really good. God, just a tremendous amount. I think I have like 3 different expansions for Catan sitting up in my attic. Because back in the day, when you had to import it from Germany because it wasn't available here yet, you had to you could import in 2 different sets of Catan and put them together for a massive 8-player game as well.
Okay. Now, my experience with board games is basically the last one I had was like Monopoly decades ago. But I look at board games now. All these expensive layouts and sculptures and things you got to put on the board, and then all these
the miniatures,
multiple decks of cards all over the place.
That's a side hobby all its own, outside of just the gaming. Just
well, some board games are getting into that. Just like here's Miniatures Talisman's a good example of that. It's from the same franchise that Warhammer's part of, but it's just a board game. But you have either metal or plastic figures, depending on which one you want to use.
Right.
Paint them up, put them on the board there.
Does Vision still exist here in Montgomery?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall,
do they still specialize in the board game stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Board games, collectible card games, the magical cards, all that.
There was a great. It's been forever since I've been to Visions. But when I'm in Seattle, it never fails that we all go to Cafe Mox at some point. Cafe Mox is, you can look them up online, but it's basically a cafe. They serve food, but they have connected to them is their game store. But it's all board games, all card games. Just that's all it is. And then in the back, they've got their miniatures, your D&D rule books, all sorts of stuff. And you can pick out any of them that are open. You can pick out any of the board games that are open. Go back to your table while you're waiting your food to get there and play a game. You know, while you're waiting for your food. When your food comes, you can eat and sit there and play games. And it's fantastic. It's wonderful. Love Cafe Mox when we get a chance to go.
Seattle.
Yeah, let's go to the phones now. And again, I got to pull double duty here, so you're gonna hear me break away if the phones go nuts. If you'd like to call in, and I shouldn't do this, but I'll do it anyway. Give us a call 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. Please give us a call, and we'd love to hear from you. On the phone right now is, I believe, Sned Rusty. Is that your name?
This is Rusty. Yeah.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. I was just, I think I'm a lot older than you guys, which is not surprising. I love video games, though. I think back to the first video game, which was probably Fire.
Fire?
Yeah, you'd sit around and just watch it. And then the first interactive video game would have been talking back to the television. You're watching Jeopardy. No, it's who is winning? That kind of thing. But
right.
What I called about was what you said just a few minutes ago when you were coming back from break. Somebody went there and you said that you would say he had been fired just to piss him off.
Oh.
I've got a broadcasting background, and this goes back probably close to 25 years. And we were discussing something on the morning show, and I said, well, if you try to do that, you'd just be fishing in the wind. You would have thought that on the first Christmas I ran into the stable and kicked the manger over. I tell you what, everybody lost their mind.
Yeah.
That's how far we've come as far as broadcasting and as far as video games, because I think the first one I actually ever had, we had the Atari with Pong and what was it, Asteroids and all that kind of stuff that I can't even play anymore because I don't have the hand-eye coordination anymore. But you guys are playing a lot of online games, because I hear a lot of stuff that I don't recognize.
Well, there are. I mean, we've got, these days almost every game has some type of online component just because it has to, the way they've made it so that they can ensure that you legitimately bought your game.
Yeah, usually for any digital releases.
Yeah, is that you will, when you put your game in the system, it calls back home and verifies that you've got a legit copy of the game, or it has to download something in order for you to even play it.
Well, there's one that I have, and I'm a little bit behind the curve on upgrades and everything. I think the latest thing I got, I know, is the PS3, and one of the games that I have is a James Bond game, and I remember vividly from the ad on television that you were playing. You got some of the bosses were like Odd Job and Jaws, but I am assuming, since I have played all the way through the game, that's on the online version.
That you could play as those characters? Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I think you play against them or something. But I was all excited. Oh yeah, I'm like the guy with the iron hat. But and I have the cable and everything. I just have never gone online with.
Yeah, it's the online component, so that not everybody, although I think everybody could probably play as James Bond. They put in as many characters as they could, so everybody can play whoever they want to while they're running around trying to find each other and trying to shoot each other. So the online component of that would give you the ability to play as those characters. That's my best guess, just off the top of my head. I think Dennis is trying to look it up right now, but
a lot of times on Saturday evenings about this time, I might wind up in the car and I turn over to listen to you guys. I do enjoy your show.
Well, we appreciate it. And we thank you for listening, and we thank you for calling in.
All right, take care.
You too, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, James wouldn't like it if I said he was out because of family. He would rather you know the truth than actually he was out because of family. No, he's out because of work. And Nate, of course, we picked on him last week because he hung up on STM Fuller when he was answering another call. And so, but he'll be back this week. He and I got to play a little bit of co-op of Sniper Elite 3.
How was that? I've seen James play a little bit of 2.
James, it's a funny story. And again, I wish James was here to tell this story. And maybe if he comes in later, he will be able to tell this story. But he heard us talking about Sniper Elite 3. And during the Steam Summer Sale, he decided to play a little bit of V2 just for cards, just to get the card drops. And it kind of stuck for him. And I guess because it's just kind of a downer, not a downer thing, but it's just kind of down in high releases right now. Mm-hmm. He just picked up Wolfenstein, The New Order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's been playing some of that, and then he decided to jump back in V2, and he went all the way through the thing. He played it completely and really, really enjoyed it. And so when Nate and I were talking about Sniper Elite 3 last week, he started, wishing he had picked that up. I bought my copy, legitimately, by the way. I bought my copy through eBay.
You did? The code didn't fall off the back of a truck?
No.
Somehow?
Or at least it hasn't been revoked yet. But no, eBay, again, here's a great tip for anybody who's as cheap as I am. Whenever a game's going to be released that you're interested in, check and make sure it's not part of a graphics card deal, pack-in type thing. Sniper Elite 3 was part of an AMD pack-in. So when everybody bought new AMD cards, which a lot of Bitcoin miners do, when they bought new AMD cards, they had that in there. They want to grab some extra bucks, so they'll throw it up on eBay for like $25, which is exactly what I paid for my copy of Sniper Elite 3. So he kind of wished that he had jumped on that wagon as well. And we wanted to do, so we could do some co-op together, he and I, and he could, play the game because he was hearing me and Nate talk about it and was really wishing he had it. Anyway, so time goes on, and I said, we were driving back from the show, and I said, you know what, I've got extra room in my GameFly queue. I'll put the PS4 version in for you. And that way I can check out the 3D that's on it, and then, I'll hand it off to you, and you'll be able to just at least play the game so you can have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
Well, eventually I got sent a review code. Even though, because I'd met these people at E3, and I had done the video for the E3 videos for, on our YouTube channel, and they sent a review code for it, and I was like, here you go, James, take it now, and we'll do a review on it. I just started mission 5 out of 8, so we'll do a review for it. But I'll be able to play the co-op with him as well, and we'll go through it.
Is it co-oping through whatever the main campaign is?
You can co-op through the main campaign, and you can co-op through some of the challenges.
Okay.
They've got survival challenges where you take on waves and waves. You can do that by yourself, or you can do that co-opt with a partner. And then you can also go into multiplayer, make your own lobby with your friends, and then go into multiplayer matches too. So, but me and Nate played it last Saturday night. He and I played it. And we played the level that I had just beaten before we came and did the show, level 3. And we were miserable. We were miserable at it. Not that we had a miserable time. Mm-hmm. It just, when I first played through it, man, it was, nobody saw me. I was doing my thing. I was going through it all. But boy, it's tough doing that. It's tough doing stealth co-op.
Did you have to be like completely stealthy, like use noise to mask your shots? And
well, if you wanted to,
okay.
Sure. Or you could just guns blaze, and if you wanted to do that. But it was trying to communicate. Communicate is very much the key because the map split. And so I said, look, I'm going to go. I had already played it, so I knew where the placement of things were. And I was like, I'm going to go this way and take this guy out. So I took him out, and then this guy was making a patrol. I said, Nate, come on. You got to there's a guy standing. You can get him in the back, and then I want you to get that other guy before he sees me around the corner. And he did not know what I was talking about because he was way on another part of the side of the map. And I was obviously not given good communication or directions as to what he should do. And so, we did a restart on that and went through it, but it was sloppy. It was so sloppy. We got through it, and it was fun, but it was I had just played this thing completely stealth, slick, smooth, not hiding the bodies. I didn't need to hide the bodies because they were, I could just, if anybody noticed it, boom, take him out.
Yeah.
But it was just really smooth. There were some differences. Guys who were supposed to be in certain places when I played through, they were not there in the co-op mode. But that could be because we made so many alerts that people
got shifted around.
They moved from their positions because we set off so many alarms when we were going through that thing. So many alarms. But it was
Nate
still
know the map like you did?
Huh?
Did Nate know the map?
No, he had never played that level.
Okay, yeah,
that was his first time going through the level.
Okay, so he didn't see it and possibly know what you've gone through already. So,
yeah,
that's
and I'd really like to say I talked with James before the show and asked him how he was doing with it, and he's like, I just beat Chapter 2, and he said, God, it took me like 3.5 hours. And I was like, that's exactly right, because you sit there and you're very patient with this game. You have to sit and wait. You have to wait for the sound masking to show up if it's if there's a timer on it, if it's gunfire or if it's some backfire of a truck or something like that. You have to wait for these things to happen so you can make your shots. You have to make sure people are out of place so that if you make a shot, it's not standing next to somebody who's going to see this guy get shot and be alerted. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of waiting that goes on in Sniper Elite 3, but it's still a lot of fun. It's still, I think the bullet cam and the X-ray cam make up for everything. Because when you pull off one of those shots, when it goes into that mode, you already know that's kill. You already know that you're safe.
Yeah, you've taken that dude.
What you're waiting on is to see how badly you'd mess the guy up. And secondly, if it alerted anybody, if you got the shot off before the, sound of an airplane passing over was still covering up the sound of your shot, and to see if anybody was getting alerted. But that makes up for all the waiting, man. To wait and then pull off a kill like that, and it just makes up for it. I recently finished Chapter 4. There are 3 parts to Chapter 4. You infiltrate a castle. So you start outside. Once you make your way inside, that begins part 2 of Chapter 4, and you have to find the informant who's imprisoned in the castle. You find him, and that triggers part. Well, that's still in part 2. You find him, then you have to clear a way for him to get out of the castle. Once you do that, that triggers part 3. Part 3 is an escort type mission. You're on top of the castle now because it's pretty much secure. It's yours. And you're sniping at the guys who are shooting after him as he's making his way through. So it turns it into nothing, which is exactly what I wanted, but it turns it into nothing but snipes.
Okay.
Just nothing but sniping the entire time.
You yourself aren't in danger during the sequence, but
you're not in danger, but if he dies, then you got to restart. But you're not in danger with it. But what it does is it just it takes the game down to exactly what it is. It's that's an entire sniping section. And that's what I love about it. You can make everything an entire sniping session, but if there's nothing to cover the sound of your shot, then it's shoot and then move, shoot, move, shoot, move. And this one was just go nuts, just shoot everybody you see, but make sure he's safe. So that was a lot of fun. And now I'm doing part 5, and I've been doing a lot better with it. And again, if James comes in tonight, he'll tell you a lot more about that, and we'll talk a lot more about it. So, have you guys been playing anything? RJ?
Well, I tried because of the Independence Day holiday. I tried my hand at the GTA Online part of Grand Theft Auto 5, and I have no idea what I was doing throughout that whole thing. No instructions. It just says basically just throw you in there. It says have fun, open world.
The multiplayer part of it.
The multiplayer part of the game. And after so much time of playing other things besides GTA, I had to recall how to play the game, what the instructions were, what to do, how to control my character, things of that nature. It was a pretty tedious process. I mean, over time, maybe I could probably do some things with it, but if it took me this long to get into it, chances are I won't get back into that again.
It's been a minute since
it's
you
been
played
been
the
a long
main
time
campaign.
since that game came out. So I gave that a little bit of a shot. Tried it, didn't like it, went to something else.
What about you, Dennis? Anything? Since we talked to you last, have you played anything? Mario Kart 8, I'm sure.
A little bit of Mario Kart 8. I picked up one title picked up on the Steam sale was a game called Rogue Legacy, which has been out a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. It has the same thing that like draws me into things like Binding of Isaac and Spelunky, where you're expected to essentially fail, but every death you learn something new. And in this one, the currency you pick up inside the dungeon castle kind of place all gets spent towards boosting the stats of your next playthrough.
Okay.
So it's I was thinking about it's like why do I enjoy these games and not and like something like Dark Souls, I'm just after a couple hours I'm like I need to put this down now. It's just in things like Binding of Isaac or Rogue Legacy, it's getting that reward. I feel like I'm learning something. While Dark Souls, I just feel like I'm just not good at it at all. I mean, it's clear that I think it's more a problem with me as far as Dark Souls goes. I'm just not learning what it's trying to teach me.
I don't know, maybe like you said, a reward for the other games. I mean, the reward in Dark Souls, I think, is just surviving.
Yeah.
To be honest. So you got you got that going for you, but it's just a case of to each his own. In the end, I believe. So that's the type of game you like. Have at it.
Yeah,
I like Dark Souls. You like.
I want to get it into Dark Souls. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm tired of dying outside Hyde's Tower of Flame over and over again because that's where the game ends for me right now. It's try to take on a giant dude and I'm hollow again. Okay.
You ever try summoning folks?
Occasionally, I've been summoned, but I can never get to the point where I'm human again, and it's just like I don't want to use up my effigy yet.
No. Well, yeah, it is a chore, but that's the charm of Dark Souls in that case.
Put in time with anything else?
No, that's mostly what I've been doing
mostly.
is a lot of Rogue Legacy.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more of in-game chat. Don't forget, you can call us 334. Hey, by the way, now would be a perfect time to call because I can answer the phones. 334-272-9228, 334-272-9228. We'll be back in just a moment. Here's music from Forza 3. And welcome back to In-Game Chats. That is music from Freelancer, a game I have no experience with.
Oh, good game.
I've heard that.
I don't know where you get it these days, unfortunately, if it's even available.
I don't think it is.
It's a shame, because really good game, and was meant to be so much more, but then just cutbacks got it reduced down to a single player with some multiplayer stuff in there.
What kind of game was that?
Space combat, flight, and also with a commerce trading element involved in it as well.
Was that a sequel to Starlancer?
I believe it was the same universe.
Okay, yes.
I'm not sure exactly how much the connection is between Starlancer and Freelancer.
Okay, yeah.
But I do believe it was by the same guys.
Same folks, okay.
Well, the other game that I played this week, and I streamed every session of it that I did, was Valiant Hearts from Ubisoft.
Yeah, the UbiArt.
Yes. The same guys who did, Rayman, the two Rayman games. And I think they did something else that was the UbiArt stuff. But I'm drawing a blank at the moment as to what that could be.
It wasn't Child of Light, was it?
Yes, that was it. Thanks. I could not remember. But yeah, Child of Light also used it, which is another one I think that I'm going to check out. But if it was, I don't know. I'm sure that they have different art styles, because Rayman does not look anything like what Valiant Hearts looks like, and I'm sure Child of Light doesn't look like anything what Valiant Hearts or Rayman looks like. So I'm sure they change, and their art styles are different, and the way that they tell their story is different. But after playing Valiant Hearts, I was completely sold on them as a studio, as I would be had I played Rayman. I believe I own that on Steam, and I just haven't gotten around to play it. I have played like the iPad version, which is like the Endless Runner type stuff with Rayman.
Okay.
And that was a ton of fun. It was free, and it was a lot of fun, but I hadn't actually played it on a home system yet, PC or any of the consoles or that sort of thing. So, but Valiant Hearts, I got around to playing, and I streamed every single session. In fact, every chapter is up on our YouTube channel right now if you'd like to check it out. Just go to YouTube and search for In-Game Chat, and you can sit there and watch. I would, if you never have any chance in your future of playing this game, if gaming is just not your thing, but you're enjoying listening to us talk about it or something like that, or if you just keep the radio station on and we happen to be on, maybe that's what you do, I don't know, as background noise or something like that. And if you happen to be listening right now, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch the entire game played through. If you don't have a if you don't have a PlayStation system or an Xbox system of any kind in order to play this, and you don't have a PC, so you're never going to get around to this, watch somebody play the game, hopefully not with commentary over the entire thing. I did talk when I was trying to solve some puzzles, but if there was narration going on or the story being told, I kept my mouth shut while that was going on, because I was listening. It was a first-time playthrough. It wasn't like I played this and then went back and did any kind of... So I don't hit all the collectibles. I mess up plenty of times. It's...
You're basically just doing a let's play of the game.
For the most part, yeah. But I was experiencing it for myself for the first time, just as anybody else who was watching it with me, I guess, was doing the same. But so it's a complete run through. It took me about an hour and a half per chapter to get through, which with 4 chapters, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good game for $15.
Yeah, it's about 6 hours of playtime.
Yeah. Pretty good game for $15. Yeah. The puzzles aren't really... I did a second playthrough, and the annoyances of the puzzles really started to show through on a second playthrough. The first playthrough, I guess I wasn't really paying attention. Well, the first playthrough, I chalked most of it up to my own mistakes as far as going in certain directions and going in the wrong direction, or messing up a puzzle as much as I did. My second playthrough, there were just some puzzles in there that really annoyed me. There was a lot of backtracking in some of the puzzles.
What kind of puzzles are we talking about?
Well, let's say it's a good question. Good question of the type of puzzles. I'm sure another game incorporates the way that they do their puzzles, but I'll just try to explain one. The one that I first found ridiculous was one of the guys gets a letter from home, and he wants to write back. So you have to find a quill and an ink, thing of
Inkwell.
An inkwell, yes. And so you need a feather and the inkwell.
Did you just have to? Was it just find these items, or?
Well, you would find the items, but there were certain ways you had to get the items. Like I went to the whoever had the inkwell, but he wouldn't give it to me until I brought him a sock, because he had one sock missing, I guess.
Okay, so they're basically kind of a generic fetch quest almost. Go get
For
this.
them, yeah, kinda. But so I found the sock, so I go to take it to him. He's like, "Nope, I don't want this sock because that sock was really dirty." So I had to take it over to. I had passed by where some guys were doing dishes in the trenches there. They were doing dishes because they were feeding some of the soldiers and stuff. And I threw the sock in the water, and then the sock came out, and I grabbed it and I took it to him. And he didn't want that one because the sock was wet. So I had to go find the stove, put the sock on the stove, heat up the sock to dry it, and then take it to him. And that's how I got my inkwell.
So on your second playthrough, did you have to go back and talk to the guy each time in order to get the
No.
bits?
Okay.
Okay.
I did it. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, you could just go back.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought some of that was ridiculous. I thought some of that was ridiculous. Now, Medusa's Mirror is saying that she had to delete Valiant Hearts and re-download it. She was having some insurmountable glitches. It seems fine now, though. I didn't have any glitches in the game or anything that caused me to delete it and re-download it. I did have one where I couldn't get the dog to do what I wanted him to do. He needed to dig in a hole, and he just would not go do that. Every time I told him, he would go in an opposite direction. He would approach it and then immediately turn around and go in the opposite direction. And so I actually had to quit out and go back, start that chapter over with, or the segment of that chapter over with, in order to make it happen. That was the only one I actually ran into. Anything else that I thought was a glitch was actually my own stupidity of not figuring out the puzzle. So there are little things like that, though, of going back and forth. There's one where you have to wear a different uniform to get into different sections of the house. But if you're wearing a uniform while carrying a bottle of wine that you need, the guy won't let you through, so you have to go in a different uniform with the bottle of wine. That's how you get through. Then you have to go upstairs, get the clothes on the clothesline to come back over to where you're at, change clothes. That was really annoying. But out of everything that was annoying, and I hate to say this about a game because you really shouldn't. Everything should be held accountable for what it does, but I just can't hold it against. I can't hold any of the shortcomings on this against it, as far as the puzzles are concerned, because the story is still really well done. The animation is really well done. There are things that are very well done in the game. There's a segment where you're walking and the camera is on a really tight shot of the chains around your ankles because you've been captured. Mm-hmm. And as you walk, the camera does this it pulls back. The further you walk, it pulls back and goes into its regular state. But it was just so well done the way that they focused on that in this particular segment, and pulled back from the camera as you're walking through, and it's just really, really good. The narration on this is just fantastic. I don't know who the voice guy is that does narration, but he's great. He's really, really good at conveying emotion, and which he needs to do in this, because these characters don't have. And they've got some facial features, basically a grin or a frown, but every single one of their eyes are covered up by their hair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have. Okay. Yeah, and so it doesn't come through in facial expressions, but it does come through in this guy's voice, and it does come through in the story that is being told. And it's just really good. There are tons of collectibles. There's over 100 collectibles that you can find. The collectibles, here's my thing. If you're going to play this for the first time, I have this OCD thing. I can't avoid the collectibles. But if you're going to play it for the first time, avoid the collectibles. If you see them, that's great, but don't seek them out. Seeking them out really breaks the flow of the game. because
they're all often like side areas, or
right. If the game starts you, the game will start you because it's a side scroller. The game will start you, and the instinct, like the soldiers are all rushing to the front of the line to go into battle. But what do? You turn and you go the other way. Why? Because a little bit ways back of where the level started you, there is a little collectible to pick up. So every time a level would start, it's like, nope, let me go in the opposite direction of which way they want me to go in, so that I can see if a collectible's there. And if there was, that was great. Still felt like it was taking me out of the moment. Mm-hmm. If there wasn't, it felt even more like it was taking me out of the moment to go back and not see anything there. But I would do that constantly. Anytime I would go from one end of the level, and when I got to the end, or what I thought might be the end, I would go even further just to make sure that was the end of that section, so that I didn't miss anything collectible. That's my own fault. Mm-hmm. So I would say if you're going to do that, just ignore them on your first playthrough and get them on the second, because it'll really take you out of the moment of what that story's trying to tell you, or what that certain thing is going on at that particular time in the game. Don't do that.
So was it like that way when you were playing Crackdown, when you were searching for those orbs?
Crackdown's open world, so no, because in Crackdown, you could do so many stupid things in Crackdown. Mm-hmm. I wasn't invested in the story of Crackdown.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking the story wasn't good enough to merit you
trying to ignore the collectibles.
Well, break it.
You also got something out of the collectibles, like the orbs. Every time you got an orb, it upped your level in strength and agility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you could jump higher and pick up heavier objects. Mm-hmm. That was for Crackdown. Mm-hmm. So they were beneficial.
Okay.
These are beneficial in the sense that they give you, some of the collectibles have a story behind what they are, because they were used in World War I. And so there's some interest there. And I encourage you to do, on a second playthrough, go through and pick those up. But for the most part, I wish that I could have turned off that OCD in myself to say, hey, don't do it. Mm-hmm. Did the same thing on my second playthrough, even though for the most part I tried not to. My second playthrough was worse because right from the beginning I was seeking out collectibles. Whereas when I first played them, I wasn't. It wasn't until I came across my first, what is this object doing here in the middle of nowhere? And then I pick it up and it's like, oh, I earned a collectible. So then going back through the beginning of the game, it was like I stared at the ground the entire time, making sure every level start, go the opposite direction.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. So
did it even have one of those 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 found in this area, something like that?
There is a tracker that helps you. There's the objects are silhouetted.
Okay.
So, and when you find them, it fills in the silhouette when you find whatever it is, so you can see which ones you're missing.
Yeah, you have an idea of what you're looking for that's sitting on the ground, or
sort of. They're all out of place and they shimmer just a little bit whenever they're there. Okay. But sometimes they're tucked away. Sometimes you have to tell the dog to dig in a hole and he'll find it. Sometimes you just help somebody. When I was the medic, and I helped a citizen or whatever, he gave me the hidden thing, the collectible.
So is it mostly just puzzles, or is
it's all puzzles?
Okay, there's no combat or anything?
No, not really. Okay. There is no combat. There are, for the most part, it's all puzzle solving. And there were times when you were in the trenches getting shot at, and you'd have to wait behind a wall, and whenever they would stop shooting to reload, you'd run to the next wall to get behind it.
Okay.
So stuff like that.
But it was like, if you're out in the open, that's just go back to your last checkpoint. Like if you got hit by a bullet, or
we go back to whatever checkpoint it was. Yeah, something like that. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, you didn't take damage.
You couldn't Call of Duty it. Basically.
No, you didn't. You didn't take damage on this. If you misstepped and got shot, it was over. You'd start again. So, with the exception of one segment of play, which were extremely fun. And I don't know if Medusa's Mirror has gotten to any of these, but there are driving sections. When Anna, the medic, picks you up, I believe there's 3 of them in the game. And as she's taking you to the next section, it does this. The camera is looking at the car as it's coming towards the camera type situation, and then you'll see cars come up and fire at that, or just obstacles will come in the way, and you'll have to move from side to side to get out of the way of what's going on. And it's all done. It's all set to music as it's doing it, and it's some of the biggest smiles on my face while playing a game were during those segments. Just fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, she does say you do knock some soldiers out occasionally. So if you want to call that combat, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, if the soldiers see you before you get to knock them out, they will shoot you and you'll have to, or they capture you and you have to start the thing over again.
Okay.
So,
Now, you said earlier that the narrator held all the emotion in it.
yeah,
Really?
Medusa's Mirror is looking this up. She's playing Nate for this game. Dave Pettit, I believe.
Dave Pettit has done quite a bit of voiceover work since '92, according to this.
Yeah.
A lot of anime.
He's really good.
Yeah, so he does the narration, but do the characters themselves, the soldier and the medic, have voices of their own? Because you said their faces are covered. You never see their eyes, just their mouth and the limited facial expressions. But
Yes, somebody else does, and that's when they're reading their letters. It's just a voiceover as they're reading their letters that they've sent to family or whatever the case.
Okay.
Emil, who is the first character that you play, he has a voice in it, and I want to say Anna or Freddy also has a voice. I can't remember though. Emil is the most prominent, but that I remember. So, Medusa Mirror, I just finished chapter 1. I love the driving though, especially the synchronization with the music. Exactly, and there's 2 more sections of that, and they pick fantastic songs. It's all classical pieces, and I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head. Night on Bald Mountain is one of them that they use, which is great.
So I was just saying, you know it when you hear it, but you can't think of the name of it to save your life.
I can't remember what it is. She may know what it is and may reply in the chat room there. So, you know what? I did not go over all of our stuff on how to get. If you'd like to join us in the chat room, head over to twitch.tv. You can find us, just search for in-game chat and you can join us in the chat room. In fact, looking at the chat room, we've got Lavos, DePete16, Cali Synth, Medusa's Mirror, Multile is there, STM Fuller, Taxis 59, Truth Unknown, and W. Matthew in the chat room as well. I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. Appreciate it. Don't know what you guys are doing for the holiday weekend here, even if you're in the States, but we appreciate you spending your time with us tonight. Like I said, if you've got anything you want to talk about, give us a call, 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. So going back to Valiant Hearts, it's all made up for it. I played it twice, and the ending still gets me. I don't cry. You get a lump. I get a lump in my throat. But yeah, the ending still gets me. The ending was not what I expected, by the way. The ending was not what I expected from what I had seen of the trailers. I did not expect that.
Talking something bittersweet or something. Huh?
I did not expect, number one, I did not expect there to be 4 chapters. I thought there were 5. To kind of focus on almost each character. But they do give some good amount of time with each character. But as you progress, the chapters start giving you multiple times with each character. Mm-hmm. So you go through a section as Emil, and then you'll jump and go to a section as Carl, and then you'll jump and go to a section as Freddy, or as Anna. And which, by the way, you wanted to talk about puzzle stuff. Anna's section, she's the medic.
Yeah.
Hers, anytime she heals somebody, a strip comes across the top of the screen that's basically a heart line, a heart rate. And as the beats go by, you have to time pressing whatever they want to ask you to press. A, X, B, or Y. So I don't know if that's called a QuickTime event or I don't know what that is.
QT or like
Rhythm.
kind of like almost a rhythm.
Yeah,
game.
Sounds like something like Parappa the Rapper or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Guitar Man.
Yeah, but you press the button as that comes across.
As timing goes around, yeah.
Sometimes you have to press 2 buttons at the same time while you're doing it, and they get fast, or they get slow, or they change up quickly, something like that. So that's her sections. There is one section that is QTE where you're doing a fight, and you have to press certain buttons as you're doing the punches and blocking, that sort of stuff. But for the most part, this is nothing but puzzle solving. So, and I loved it. I love puzzle games. I got through it, and I thought the puzzles, I said this last week's show, I thought some of the puzzles were, and I've said it in this show, some of them were kind of tedious. Some of them seemed out of place to be doing this in the middle of war.
Well, like it was like, well, we need a puzzle here, so have a puzzle.
Well, the way I related it was these guys wanted to tell this story. This story is based on letters that were sent during World War One. I don't necessarily know that any of these characters are actual real people, or if they're based on some real people. That's more than likely the case. But they had a story that they wanted to tell in a video game setting, and they had to game it up somehow, rather than just say, here, watch this animation of this story. They wanted to tell it, and they wanted to tell it through a game. And apparently the best way that they could do that, and I don't disagree with them, is putting puzzles in there. Just make some simple puzzles, make some of them complicated, whatever the case. I think, like I said, some of the puzzles don't work, some of them are fine, some get really confusing, but that's how they could tell their story. That's how they wanted to tell their story. They could have done it that way, or they could have done it through QTE. But I know that they didn't want to do, I haven't talked to them, I don't necessarily know this, but I feel quite sure that they didn't want to do it by putting a gun in your hand and giving you the ability to just go around and shoot and tell the story. Yeah. These people have specific jobs. None of them, I would say with the exception of Freddie and Carl, are soldiers. These guys are pulled from their homes and told to go fight, rather than themselves enlisting. So doesn't feel right with some of the characters in order to do that. The medic makes the most sense because you're just there to help. But it's it's worth the $15. It really is. If it is on sale, then by all means. If it's less than $15, yes, pick it up. But I think it's worth the $15, and I played through it once, and then I played through it again not very long after I'd finished it, and the story still held, the emotion still held. I knew what was coming, but it still got to me. Those parts that I told you I was smiling at during the driving sequences, those were just as much fun to play a second time around as they were the first. It's really, it really works. And I hope everybody gets a chance to experience if they want to, but I hope they get a chance to experience the game. Medusa's Mirror says, I feel like if there was direct combat, the story would have gotten lost. I kind of agree with you. Putting direct combat in this, like I said, they're trying to tell a story, and they're trying to have the player make a connection with the character that they're using. And if you were to put this in a first-person view, you wouldn't have that connection because it would be you. If you put it in a third-person view, then you still don't have that connection with the character. You never see their face. But going around just blindly, putting a gun in their hand and shooting, it works for some things if you want to tell your story, but I don't think it would have worked for this. Not this game that is, again, told from letters that they received during... there's tons of facts that come up by the narrator when he's talking about when the characters would fight at certain battlefields, at certain battles that took place in World War I, how many people lost their lives during that campaign, and it's a massive amount of people. I think there was one that it was 300,000 British soldiers had lost their lives. French and British soldiers had lost their lives, maybe. It equated to something like one soldier every minute, which and it went on for like 70 days or something like that. Even it was long. It was a long time, but it just didn't seem. Putting this in any other way, I don't think would have worked. And I think they did a fine job with it. The art is fantastic. The dog is wonderful. This dog has a name that I only found out during my second playthrough, because I started reading the diaries of the people that you're playing. You'll unlock these diaries. You'll unlock a ton of information, by the way. Collectibles, that's one thing. But as you go through, there is all sorts of diaries that you unlock from these characters that you can kind of read a little bit of a backstory. It's not much. But there's also history about where they happen to be. The area that they're currently fighting at. There's information on that. There's information on how the war was fought, how the war was organized, all sorts of stuff. Just a ton of information for the game. So It's really well done, and like I said, if it ever goes on sale, don't hesitate to pick it up. But right now, at $15, if you got it, go ahead and grab it. I believe it's on PS4, and it's on Xbox One, as well as PC. PC, you do have to play through Uplay.
Yeah.
I did not have a problem playing through Uplay, as I know some people have with some of the larger games, but I had no problem with Uplay playing Valiant Hearts. So, there you go. Anyway, we're going to take a break. And again, phone lines are open if you want to call 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. We'll be back with the second half of In-Game Chat in just a moment. Here's music from Monkey Island. Or sound effects from Monkey Island. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. That is music from Homeworld. So that was Homeworld, and what was it? Freelancer was earlier. Both of these are two games that I obviously haven't played. And I say that every time they come up in the rotation.
Yeah, I haven't played Homeworld myself.
And then James or Matt
James
or whoever has will talk to us about how great Homeworld is.
Yeah.
And I don't deny that. I don't think they're lying to me in that regard. But I just never... I wasn't playing... I didn't have a PC at the time to play something like that. And it just wasn't on my radar. I can't exactly remember what year that was, but I was probably in the console gaming space at that time. Maybe. Again, I don't remember what year it was. Dennis is looking it up
Give me a
now.
minute.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
99.
Yeah, I was consoling at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
99 was...
I should have known 99. That's when everything that was just excellent for us came out.
Dreamcast.
No, man, I wasn't doing anything in 99. I hadn't even met James in 99. I wasn't gaming in 99. My history of games, of where I did gaming, is it's not consistent. When I was in high school, early 90s, that's when I had a Nintendo. Or late 80s, early 90s, that's when I had a Nintendo system. I had Mega Man, and I was playing that, got my subscription to Nintendo Power, which I have. All of the issues that I ever got, I still have those, starting with Super Mario Brothers 2 on the cover. I still have those issues. I don't know why I saved them. Pack rat, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a bunch of them going back there. And
did you get rid of them, or you still...
I got rid of them. I gave them to Jeremy back when he was running the game store.
Right.
Give them to him as like decoration. Kept like the strategy guide ones, like the Final Fantasy guide in particular.
Now that would be nice to wall up put them in some, kind of like you do comic books. Put them in a plastic slip sleeve, and then like put them up on the wall. To have them all decoration and that sort of thing. That'd be kind of cool to do. But, so anyway, I had a Nintendo, and I had a Super Nintendo. However, at the time, most of my friends were playing Genesis. And I was like, grass is always greener type person. I was like, all right, I want a Genesis. So I sold my Super Nintendo to get a Genesis. And I got a Genesis with games, and I played it for a little while. And then, like, Mortal Kombat came out, and Super Nintendo had the better version of it or something like that. And so... and they
Buyer's remorse.
They were getting, like, NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat and Donkey Kong Country. So, sold the Genesis. Picked up a Super Nintendo again. And then that was it. I was done. After that, I didn't game. I didn't I'd never played an N64, other than at a friend's house for, like, GoldenEye and Smash Brothers. I never owned a PlayStation. Again, I would do this over at a friend's house. If he had it, we would. I worked at a video rental place, which doesn't exist anymore, so I might as well tell you, Blockbuster, in locally near the house. And so whenever we would get done with work, we'd grab a game off the shelf and go home. If whatever it was, go home, and he would either play it or we'd play together, whatever the case would be. Resident Evil or something like that. He would play it. But I didn't own that system. If he ever went out of town or something, I would borrow it, take it to the house, and play something. And but I never got into that. In 2000 it was in 2000, I believe, or 2001 or 2002, I think, when I met James. I can't exactly remember when that was. But before then, I had bought a Dreamcast off of eBay, and played a little bit of that. It came with a bunch of games, so I had a Dreamcast, and I played some of that. And then after that was when I actually started getting back into it. I can't remember what triggered it, but I bought a PS2 because I wanted to play SSX. And some of the Legacy Kane games, because I had played Soul Reaver on Dreamcast.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good game.
And so I knew PS2 would look better and that sort of stuff, so I wanted something on the PS2. And then I also bought an Xbox, and then that's kind of where it started. But I missed an entire generation of games.
Yeah, you missed
I missed the
out on quite a bit.
N64 and the PlayStation era. I missed all of that. Never got into it. I don't remember exactly what it was I was doing, what my hobby was at the time. I have no idea what was keeping me busy over the weekends and stuff like that. I don't know.
And you can't necessarily blame the internet. It was still nascent at that point.
Oh yeah, no, nothing.
If anything at all.
Yeah. No. Maybe that's what I was doing during that time, actually. I was still using services like Prodigy to sign on and go to
Just hanging out on the message boards.
Yeah, message boards.
Wait all day for the messages to
Well,
download.
okay, no. I forget that, I was also playing Wolf 3D and Doom on PC at that time, my dad's PC, and also Seventh Guest.
Ah, yes. I remember.
On my father's computer. 486 DX40, not a 486, but 486 DX40. I was playing. That's the only number I remember. I think it changed a bunch of times, but played Seventh Guest and I played the Myst series. That's where I caught up with that. So yeah, it was, and I guess maybe that's what I was doing within that time frame. And then I got caught back up to, I didn't have my dad's computer anymore, or I was using his computer after he passed, and it was whatever. I didn't even think about how I was going to build my own PC. I didn't know anything about it. But I guess that's when I got into console type stuff and started gaming. And it wasn't until I saw the mods for Max Payne that I was like, I want to build something that I can play this on. And James helped me build the first PC. He actually built it for me, but he helped me, it's like, hey, you need these parts, this part, that's a good card, get that. He helped me do that with the build. And then he built it for me. And that's when I was able to play all the mods for Max Payne. I played Call of Duty for the first time, Roller Coaster Tycoon. I have all these game boxes from when I first started playing those on that system, or on the PC. Kept all that stuff. I keep everything. I'm such a pack rat. Anyway, that was 15 minutes of nostalgia, so hope you enjoyed that.
I'll say
You did.
Mine was, I started with like the Atari 2600 and ColecoVision, and I was like 4 at the time. I had older siblings who were interested in gaming, so I was able to tag along on that.
No brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I had no brothers and sisters, so I had no experience of somebody older getting into something that might interest me as well. So I had none of that experience. I did play it in television.
Ah, yeah. I didn't play that one.
A friend of mine had it, but the only game they had for that was like this nasty-looking Pac-Man and Smurfs. That was it.
Oh, I remember Smurfs.
That was all they had. So, what about you, RJ?
Mine was started with the Atari 2600. To this day, still my favorite game on the 2600 was still Yar's Revenge. Playing that one. Had that one for years. Had a good time with that. Then I got the Sega Master System. Galaxy Warrior, Hang On. Played those for the first time.
Hello?
Had that for years as well.
I'm sorry?
Played Double Dragon on that as well. And then I started seeing the comparison between Sega's, and Nintendo Entertainment System. I thought the color palette was a lot better on the Master System version than the Nintendo version, but the Nintendo version had a lot more options and extra modes to play through and everything like that. So I had a friend of mine who played the Nintendo, and it was the opposite of your situation, Scott. Like everyone had a Genesis, and you were the odd man out with the Nintendo. Well, it was opposite me. I'm the only one who had a Genesis, and everyone else had the Nintendo Entertainment System. So I started seeing a lot of variety that way. Go to a friend's house, play that, come back, compare it to mine, and see the comparison. But still stayed with Sega. Got a Genesis, played that for a really long time. Got a lot of games with that as well. My favorite on that was still Ghouls and Ghosts.
Ah, yes.
Playing with that one. Kind of like Dark Souls before Dark Souls came out, because every time I play that, people are always asking me, why do you hate yourself? Why do you keep why do you keep playing that game? It's my favorite game, man.
If you beat the game, you have to go through the game again to get an ending.
Yeah. More of that. Give it up. I'll do it. So I started playing through that. And then the Dreamcast came out, which was the last console I've ever bought on launch day.
The Dreamcast was the last console you bought?
Last console I bought on launch day, because that was my birthday, September 9th, 1999.
Is there any reason that's stayed that way?
It was just the cost of the PS2 at the time, and then seeing the library. I think that's the time you started seeing, or was it before that, when you didn't get as much with a console as you used to, like free game, extra controllers, things like that. You just had, now you got like
Super Nintendo came with came with 2 controllers, and
it came with Super Mario World,
and came with a game. And Genesis did the same thing.
Did it?
Well, it did once Sonic was released.
Yeah, because
originally,
Sonic, yeah.
See, I had it before Sonic released. I had it when it was Altered Beast.
Yeah, that's when I had mine as well.
And so it wasn't until GameCube, I believe, GameCube, Xbox, and PS2, none of those had pack-ins.
PlayStation 1 didn't have a pack-in.
I was not
think-
there for that,
yeah.
so I don't know. N64 and PlayStation 1 may not have had pack. I don't know. That wasn't when I was around buying consoles, but I'm sure there's some people in the chat room who will tell us.
Yeah, a while back the standard was one controller and just a console. Well, it is nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I stick with the Genesis all this time. Found a Sega CD off of eBay. Played that a little bit. Bought Eternal Champions: Challenge from the Dark Side for that one. Had a good time with that. Sonic CD originally played it on that, and then later on bought it on PlayStation Plus. But after that, took years later that I eventually bought a PS2. Initially for backwards compatibility. That's where I had all the title overload, because now you have the PS2 library and the PS1 library to pick from to play games with. So the PS2 lasted me a good while.
Yeah, that was nice about the PS2.
Yeah, that lasted me a good while.
My
Then,
PS3 does the same thing because it was mine was a
initially.
fresh one.
Yeah, initially it did. Now just
Fresh, brand new first run of those systems
First
that
one
had
back,
backwards compatible.
Yeah,
The most expensive with the least features, honestly. Well, like the hard drive was embarrassingly small compared to what 60 gigs.
Yeah.
60 and 40 was what they were offering, or it may have been 60 and 20. I can't remember, but it was miserable at the time. It was like, that's
gig.
fine. But as you got longer in the tooth of the console, you started realizing that this is ridiculous, because then they started issuing, here's 500 gigs on your system and that sort of thing. So, but it had a backwards compatibility feature that I never took advantage of. I have the option to now because I have it, but I just never took advantage of it.
I mean, I was looking around for all types of PlayStation games I could put on there as well. Yeah,
but I don't think I ever took advantage of it on the PS2 when it was backwards compatible. It was nice to have, and I may have done it a few times, but I just don't remember.
Oh yeah, I
too much of
use
it.
that tremendously. But I also had a just booklet full of PS1 games that I could play through.
Well, see, that's starting to stack up with me on my PS Plus stuff, because they have the different tiers. It's like, here's your PS3 games, here's your PS4 games, here's your Vita games, and some of your PS3 games can be played on your Vita, and some of your Vita games are older versions of PS1 games or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot I can go back to. It's just I hardly ever go back. I can't remember who I was talking to. Well, actually, it was the guy that's on before us, Terry. Whenever I was talking to him, I think yesterday, and we were talking about games, and he was talking about some of the old ones. And there are some classics that are easy to go back to. Pac-Man's one of them, but some of those old arcade classics. But we were talking about a specific title, and I can't remember what it was, but I just said he works in like the motorsports business.
Okay.
ATVs, motorcycles, stuff like that. He says it's the same with him. He looks at what he gets now from some of these manufacturers, and he remembers years and years ago when he had something that was so underpowered compared to what is today.
Yeah.
But at the time, he thought, it's never going to get better than this. We have reached the pinnacle of how fast these things can go and how sleek they can look. This is it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it changes in 10 years or something like that. Yeah. So, I said, what? Same thing happens in gaming, but it's so hard for me to go back to those. There's a lot I want to, but it's just so difficult to go back. Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
I've tried, and it's really difficult to go back to that. Maybe there's some mods for it, and if there are, that'd be great. But
hard to go back to those old.
It's just hard to look at it. Deus Ex, I tried to go back and play.
Just hard to look at.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, but it was so good back then.
I know. I'm not denying.
Top of the line.
I'm not doubting that or denying that or saying that it's worse because it's.
Oh yeah,
it looks
years have
the way
gone
it
by.
looks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, man, my eyes.
Go back and look at like System Shock 2, and it's like,
dude, I played those games. I mean, I didn't play those, but I'm saying I played in that era. I've played those systems. I've played those games. I have a lot of fond memories of some of them, but when I try to go back to them now, it's like, this is really tough to do. It's really tough to do when there's all this other shiny looking at you. It's really tough to go back to to the look of those things for me, and I got to find a way to do that. So,
I mean, I do it. Yeah, I do it all the time because one of the consoles I forgot to mention, Sega Saturn. Picked that up as well. When I played,
now was that a launch system you got? Saturn? That was before the Dreamcast. So yeah, it would have been.
That was before the Dreamcast. Yeah, so I forgot to mention that one. But yeah, that was the first time I played Virtual Fighter.
You were Sega all the way then, weren't you?
Yeah, it was Sega. Yeah, because I was having such a good time with the previous consoles, I just kept going with that.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of reasons to pick Saturn, especially for fighting games like you got into.
A much better. Yeah, first of all, a much better default controller for the fighters, especially the Capcom fighters, because they had it was a 6-button controller that they had.
While everybody else is using 4 buttons.
Yeah, 4 buttons and 4 buttons in the shoulder, which to this day I still cannot get used to. I gotta have 6 buttons in a row some kind of way for me to do that. Yeah, that's what I had played with Saturn, and the Saturn still works, the Dreamcast still works, the Genesis, when I can find the cables, still works. And I've never had an issue going back. If I ever felt nostalgic, I just go back, load it up, and reminisce and have good times with stuff that I used to play. It wasn't a visual thing for me. I mean, it was just how much fun I was having with the game.
Yeah,
really.
There's some. I don't know. I'd have to. There are a few I can go back to. The first Driver, San Francisco, I can go back to that. There's certain things I need to have with it, but I can go back to it because I loved the film director mode in that, and that was a lot of fun to use and a lot of fun to play. Another one that I can always go back to, Puzzle Fighter.
The
Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Yeah. There wasn't much to that, and I can go back to that on the
that was tremendous fun.
Yeah,
especially in the Versus.
Tetris, obviously, you get to some. Like I said, some of those classics.
You always have the one guy who plays as Dan all the time. So
that was a challenge we had at QZAR. If you remember that place was playing, we had a challenge. It was Dan versus Dan. All right, now let's see who can play this game the best. Now Dan and Dan, have at it. If any of those not for me, it was his counter gem was completely red.
Yeah.
So
every time he got hit on you, it dropped red gems on you,
which set up the most epic comeback.
All those would combine together, and you could just obliterate him with one red crash gem.
Yeah.
So what the deal was just build ridiculously huge gems, and then when you start attacking, you have to keep attacking. You cannot stop attacking. You just can't. You have no chance to build again. That was the only way I could beat anyone with Dan.
So another way, I could easily That doesn't really work. I was going to say I could easily go back to Mario Kart Double Dash, but that's not going back very far. I'm trying to think of what else.
I tried playing 7 a couple of years ago, Final Fantasy 7, on the PlayStation, and it was just, I got through the introductory section. I was just like, the games of this type have just come so much further. It's like this is kind of boring now to play through and wait for loading screens.
Yeah.
How
many discs was that?
Oh, I think that one was 3.
3.
Because I think that was 3. I want to say 8 was 3, and 9 was 4 discs.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of multi-disc games in my time. I think I played, Panzer Dragoon Saga on the Saturn was a 4-disc one, I think. And then Shenmue on the Dreamcast was a multi-disc.
It was a 2-disc, I think. Because I think it was 2.
I think it was 4, 3 and a passport.
Oh no, that's right.
Shenmue was 3 discs and the Shenmue passport for online stuff. I think I have to go to the CD wallet and look again, but I think that's what it was. Yeah, I didn't do a lot of multi-discs games before, but they kind of stood out. Like, get up, go to your console, switch the disc out, put the second one in there, and then go back, get comfortable, and restart again.
Going over the chat room, we had some comments there. DePete16 says, my first official console was a Super Nintendo with Donkey Kong Country on Christmas Day. How a lot of us got our consoles. That was the first game I ever finished. After that, I got Super Mario World and All-Stars. Also, I think my brother snuck Mortal Kombat and Aliens vs. Predator. Next up was PS1 on my birthday. All I had was a demo disc. Later on, my game collection grew to Tekken 2, Crash Bandicoot, and Rage Racer, not Ridge Racer, he says. Look that up. After that, naturally, I got a PS2 with Star Wars Squadron and Tekken Tag. Tekken Tag, I had a lot of fun at the arcades with Tekken Tag. As long as I played somebody who also didn't know how to play Tekken Tag. And a demo disc where I played SSX all the time. God, I loved SSX.
Demo discs are so good.
When that remake came out, man, I was like, bought. That's when the remake for PS3, and I was like, yep, that's
Which one?
SSX on the PS3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The reboot or whatever.
Man,
thing was,
nothing,
yeah, I was like,
whatever,
I'll take
nothing beats SSX Tricky. Nothing beats Tricky. That was, SSX, and then I think, did they go to Tricky or did they do 2? They may have done 2 and then Tricky. I can't remember, but SSX Tricky was fantastic. I really wish they'd go back to that. Although the reboot that they did was not bad at all. It actually did very good. Later on, I got into Devil May Cry, Onimusha, Def Jam, Fight for New York, and GTA 3. Back in that period, I was just borrowing lots of games from friends. Never had a PS3 until 2013. Good choice, thankfully.
Onimusha's so good.
Yeah.
Great series.
Yeah. And when I think of, every time I hear Def Jam Fight for New York, I think about the
Def Jam wasn't bad, actually.
No. I think about the I don't know what they were thinking with Icon, because when you play
that was not
Vendetta
good.
and then Fight for New York, and then you see Icon, you're like, what happened?
Yeah, Def Jam Icon was not great.
Yeah. Awful.
Friend of the show, who's been on it a few times, Dave. He would come over because I had a system that had it. He would play Def Jam Fight for New York, and I loved watching him play that. And then we would play a little bit of it together or whatever. But yeah, I mean, honestly, this was a game I had written off. You know, it was like but no, that was not a crap game.
Yeah, you think of a bunch of celebrities, just compilation, all this stuff, and it couldn't be any substance to it. But yeah, it was pretty good, very good game.
Yeah. So some nice reminiscing of some titles there. By the way, as we reminisce, don't forget Retro Game Planet in Prattville has pretty much all of these games that we've been talking about.
Yes, STM Fuller says, I don't think I've ever played Def Jam. Well, yeah, that's a place to go get it.
It's not that bad. It's don't get Icon. Icon was horrible.
No.
But Def Jam Fight for New York was actually really, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, there's a reason Icon was like $5 in the, not even in the budget bin on the shelf. Like, please get rid of it price.
Yeah,
as compared to the other two.
Yeah, it was actually very, very good. But yeah, Retro Game Planet has. If you're local, just head over to Prattville. They have a ton of retro games. Some of them as collector's items, so you're not going to be paying, $250. I'm sorry, you're not going to be paying $350 for some of these games. You'll actually be paying possibly $350 for some of them. They do hold value, some of these titles. And some of them are kept in very good condition, but they've got a ton of stuff at Retro Game Planet, so why not check it out if you're local? Anyway, we're going to take a break. If you would like to get in on the conversation here during our final segment, why not give us a call, 334-272-9228, 334-272-9228. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. Here's music from Hotline Miami. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. That is music from Mass Effect 2. So welcome back to the show. We've got Dennis and RJ here. James is at work. Nate is hanging out with family at the moment. But Nate will be back next week. More than likely. He hasn't told me any reason that he won't be. James will not be back next week. We will not see James again. For the most part, as far as we know, we won't see him again until late August.
It'll be a minute.
It will be a minute. Now, you wanted to talk, the phone's ringing right now, so I'm going to get that. But you wanted to talk about...
It's a new company formed called Other Side Games. They were founded by one of the guys who was originally at Looking Glass, which have brought games like Thief and System Shock, which from there Ken Levine went off and did BioShock. Mm-hmm. This guy, Paul Narath, was one of the founders of Looking Glass, and he announced this week they're working on a successor to a title Looking Glass worked on, which was Ultima Underworld, which was part of the Ultima series that Richard Carey at Norwich Systems worked on. They can't be Ultima Underworld because EA owns the license for Ultima, unfortunately. All those relate. But they announced this week they are working on a new game along that style. Very 3D, kind of a dungeon crawl. The main thing I remember from it is that the controls were mostly mouse based. Like you literally moved around the mouse, and where it was in your view window would determine which direction you move. Like if it was near the bottom, you would like back up, or like in the upper left, you would like just turn to the left. Very strange and hard to use. But I may be misremembering because it's been nearly 10 years since I last played one of those. But they're both the original Ultima Underworlds are on GOG, so anybody wanting to see what that's like.
I think they had a huge pack that you could download that got you a ton.
Yeah, with Underworld,
pack,
all Ultima 1 through 9.
There was a ton. I don't know that I own it, but I probably did just to buy it. I don't know, because the pack was cheap enough, and it's like, ooh, all this for that price? Sure, I'll grab it, but
it's another game on the shelf.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Let's go to the phones now. We've got Chris on the line. Chris, thanks for calling. What's up, man?
I just heard your show this afternoon on the way in and heard about the RGP, the game store, which I just got back from this afternoon visiting with Rustin and all. And have y'all ever been by there before yet?
Yeah, well, RJ hasn't.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
I
yet.
have.
Have y'all seen the wooden Nintendo system that I made for him?
I have not. So when did you make that?
About 2 months ago.
I've been there in 2 months, or at least I'm pretty sure I've been there in 2 months.
Yeah,
you made a wooden Nintendo system for him?
Yeah, I took the insides out of an original Nintendo and made a wooden case for it and all that. But yeah, next time you go in there, tell him to show it to you. He's got it on the back corner on the left wall.
Maybe I have seen. I don't know.
Was it a top-loading NES or was it
the original?
Okay.
Wow, and it's completely, and it works, it works fully functional.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
That's for, so, I mean, did you just make that because it's a hobby of yours to do that, or you just wanted to do, what brought that about?
Well, I'd been helping him at the game store and moving when he moved into his new location where he's at now, and he took us out to eat one day, and he said, "Chris, I've got a project for you. I want you to make me a wooden Nintendo system," and all along I've been thinking about doing that, and that's what spurred it on, and I went through and built it, and that was pretty fun.
So, I mean, have you looked into making other wooden systems?
I've been thinking about doing a Super NES sometime since I've got the tools to take the system apart, but, since he didn't need anything but a regular screwdriver for the NES system, I said, yeah. And he had an old broken case, one with a broken case and everything that looked ugly. So I said, yeah, this is a good opportunity to clean it up and fix it and make a new case for it.
I will try to get by there this week and grab a picture of it so we can put it in this post whenever this show goes up, so that people will know what we're talking about and get to see it. But I'll try and do that for If not by this week, do it by definitely by next week. But I'll try and get over there and do that sometime this week and get a picture of that.
That's good.
I think it's awesome. I would love to see that, and I'd love to see you do more of that.
Yeah.
With some of the older systems, to build the case for it and then put the system inside of it or something like that. I think that's. I'd really love to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and as far as all the old systems, I've pretty much started playing since the original Atari 2600 and up to PlayStation 4 now.
Well, if you don't mind, somebody in the chat room is asking, what kind of wood did you use?
It was a soft type of wood that I found at Lowe's that was, I'm not sure what type it was, but it was a good name brand type of wood. Don't remember offhand what it was, but it was one that fit the dimensions and everything that I had drawn off of how much I would need to build it, and that's where I got it from Lowe's.
Well, that sounds awesome, man. We appreciate you calling in, and I'm definitely going to get by. This is at Retro Game Planet. It is in Prattville, so you local folks, head over there and look at it. By the way, you can find them on Facebook, and since this has come up, Chris, you may go over there and tell Rustin to take a picture of it and put it up on his Facebook page, but they're also on Facebook if you want to take a look at everything they have to offer, and as well maybe see this wooden system that Chris has built. Chris, thanks for calling in, man.
And if he tells you that he built the system, tell him that's bull.
Okay.
Y'all have a good one.
You too, man. We know who built it. Chris built it. What was I going to say? Last of Us Remastered went gold this past week.
Yeah, that's releasing at the end of the month, right?
It is releasing at the end of the month. I already, we talked about it on the show. Did you played it?
I played through the main game. I have not played the DLC campaign at all.
Yeah, I haven't played the DLC either. This is a game this is very strange because at any other point, I don't think I would buy it. But I'm really looking at actually picking this up.
So what's making you do that?
Well, for one, to have it for the system, the PS4, to see what it looks like, how it looks at 1080p, 60 frames per second, whatever. I can probably get that from a YouTube video at this point, since they do 60 frames per second now. But because I didn't play the DLC, and because I spent so much time playing the main campaign and then moving on, I never got into the multiplayer. So it's like starting brand new, basically, with this multiplayer. Since it's a new game, it'll have a rebirth of people playing the multiplayer. Okay. And so I can start into that. Now, I say I'm thinking about getting it. I put it in my GameFly queue. So I'll definitely do a rental of it.
Yeah, you're thinking about getting it and not...
And I'm thinking about renting it.
Not getting that, not putting down, however much money you need to.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I've played it. I've done the experience with it. It's not necessarily an experience that I don't want to go through again. I think it would be great, but it feels like it's too soon to go through it again. Mm-hmm. Just did it. It's only been a year.
Yeah.
It's only been a little over a year and a month since it first released.
What was the multiplayer involving? What was it like? A competitive deathmatch or something? Or
I couldn't tell you. I never played it.
I have the very little I looked at. It was like kind of a team versus thing. You were a group of survivors and had to fight other group of survivors to get supplies.
Okay.
I'm beyond just looking at one or two videos. I have no idea what else it consists of, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That wasn't why I was playing Last of Us. I'd never looked at it as I can't wait to get the multiplayer in this.
Yeah,
I wanted that campaign.
Yeah, Last of Us to me was a straight story and nothing else. I mean, that was the only reason I picked it up and played it.
Yeah, I'd like to experience the campaign. I'd like to play that DLC. Mm-hmm. STM Fuller says I'm such a hater when it comes to replaying games. I don't know why. And DePete says, like rebuying a game you played before. I'm not a fan of that either. I wouldn't be rebuying Last of Us because I didn't buy it. I rented it.
Yeah.
When I played through the main campaign, that was a rental. That was on a rental at the time.
Yeah. He also says, unless the double dip gives a really compelling reason to rebuy, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but so far they've shown some trailers for the game. They haven't shown any gameplay. And I did watch the comparison video of PS3 Last of Us and this new PS4 Last of Us, and it was only comparing cutscenes. It wasn't actually comparing any gameplay.
Oh.
There were like little snippets of gameplay, but there were the comparison shot were specific moments pulled from the trailer that they showed at E3, along with those moments that were in the PS3 version, and it does look better. It looks a ton better. It looks like there was It's amazing that it didn't bother me so much when I was playing the PS3. It looks like a cheesecloth is over it. And then they just took that off, and you can see a lot more detail, and the colors are a lot better, and it's not as, what am I saying? What am I trying to say? It's not as...
Well, it's not as vivid, not as...
Yeah, it's more vivid, put it that way.
Okay.
It's more vivid, less like there's some gunk on the screen that's making things cloudy almost. Not as crisp, not as finely detailed.
But it's not something you even notice until you saw a PS4
until you see the
version.
comparison. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's nothing that you notice until you see a difference there. Until somebody shows you what it should look like or what it does look like now. So, and I'm not saying I want to go back through the whole thing. I don't think that I do. But it will give me a chance to play the DLC, which I never did, and it'll give me a chance to get into the multiplayer, which is also something that I never did for the first one. So, looking forward to that. That is later this month. As far as what's coming up this week, I don't even know what's coming out this week. There's nothing on my radar for this week other than Sniper Elite 3, more of that. Also, PS Plus, I started playing Strider.
Yeah.
On PS4. Yeah. I
It's a
started
good
playing that.
Good game.
And
Difficult, but yeah, a good game.
also on PS4, they have Towerfall Ascension. I haven't started playing that. I think that's a multiplayer type game, and I haven't actually started playing that yet. So I checked out the 3D in Sniper Elite 3. I mentioned this. And in fact, I had James come over and take a look at it before I gave him the game. They do 3D really well. I'd forgotten that my system can do 3D until I saw the option pop up on my PC version of Sniper Elite 3, and I thought, well, let me check this out. So I have a 3D TV, and I did check that out, and it's actually very good. It's very, very good. The first time I played it through before James came over, the menus, I was just looking at the menus, and I was like, this looks really nice. The way the menu is set, and it gives a better depth, screen depth, I guess you could say. Not that anything is coming out of the screen, but that there's stuff going inside of it.
Right.
There's layers behind
layers of
that
stuff,
as
yeah.
it goes. Yeah. So there's that part of it. The reticle was a little bit wonky on my first play, but when I played it again for James when he got there, it was tons better. I don't know what was causing that, but I would see double. Like when you slow down time or hold your breath, or empty lung, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
So it steadies the shot. You'll get a red thing that'll tell you where the bullet will hit, and that was doubled for me for some reason, or it looked doubled. And then when I played it for James, it was fine again. Sometimes the bullet coming out of the gun during their little slow motion bullet cam thing was all kinds of wonky as it came out, and then other times it would be fine when it came out. So it had some stuff there, and I only played again the first mission in 3D, but it was nice. It was really nice. Maybe want to go back and find out what other games were in 3D for my PS4 that I could go back and play that I have. So Uncharted 3 was in 3D. Last of Us, I think Last of Us was in 3D. I don't think it was.
No idea. It's not exactly a feature I look for on there. So,
Yeah.
oh, Wolf Among Us finale. Comes out next
That's
week.
right. That's right. The last episode of season 1 of Wolf Among Us.
Yep,
Okay.
I just picked that up in the Steam sale. I hate that I didn't get it sooner because those. I think they're better if you're playing them as the episode comes out.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny when it backs up because when 4 came out, I wasn't finished with 3 yet, so I had to rush for 3 and then try to finish 4. Now I'm anticipating 5 now.
Yeah, because playing through Walking Dead Season 1, I was playing them as they came out, except for some reason I didn't get 4 until right before 5 came out, which, given what happens, I was like, man, I really wish I had gotten 4 when it came out, because I would just sat there with everybody else just biting my nails over what happens at the end of episode 4.
Yeah. So you haven't played 4? You have.
I've played through Walking Dead season 1. I'm caught up on season 2, but I've not played Wolf at all.
Oh, Wolf at all? Yeah, exactly. Well, now, see, you're in a good position.
Yeah, I can play through all of them. It's going to be.
Yeah.
I won't.
You get instant.
I won't have the same experience you did though, because
that's the difference.
That's the thing. It's like you've been sitting there like whatever happens in episode 4, because I have no idea. But you've been sitting here the entire time being like, man, what are they going to do in episode 5?
Right. I can't. So.
But meanwhile, I'm going to be like, let me find out what happens in episode 5. Click.
This was reverse of what happened with me for Walking Dead season 1. As far as I know, most everybody here had played through that, but I didn't get around to it until it had released on disc, all 5 episodes, and so I played those. It was Monday I played episode 1, Tuesday episode 2. I played those all the way through, and it was great. I really, I kind of prefer it that way.
I mean,
and
there's nothing wrong with playing it that way. It's just
No, there isn't. There isn't. The only thing is that I think you get less of an impact.
Yeah.
Because there's such an amount of time in between episodes. Playing those episodes back to back to back like that, even in the difference of doing one episode a day, you still retain all of the details from the episode previous. I mean, every single detail, and the emotion that carried with it.
Yeah, well, and also you're not sitting there being like, what are they going to do? Where are they going from here? It's just like, I just press A and I find out.
Yeah, we'll find out what's going to happen next type of situation. And I think after having... So I did it that way with Walking Dead Season 1. Walking Dead Season 2 and Wolf Among Us Season 1, I've been playing episode by episode as they release. And after doing so, I can honestly tell you, as cheap a guy as I am, you can find them at a cheaper price by the time that you're ready to play them all of the episodes. So what did you pick it up for the Steam sale?
I picked it up on the Steam sale. Ugh, God, something like $10.
$10?
So. Yeah.
$10. And I played full price, and I've been playing since November.
Yeah, and I wish I had picked it up then.
So
at full price, I would have been fine.
It's different. Yeah. So number one, you can be in on the conversation that everybody's having about the episodes, or you can try and avoid spoilers for 6 months.
Which I more or less have.
That's amazing.
I didn't see Fight Club till like 2 years after it came out. Nobody told me about that. Meanwhile, Sixth Sense comes out, it's like, oh, he's dead! Right away.
Well, yeah, I think the next one they do, I think, is what, Borderlands, right?
Yeah, Tales from the Borderlands, I think it's the next
For some
one.
reason, I'm just not expecting... I think Tales from the Borderlands is going to be one of those not take itself seriously type of...
Oh, it's Borderlands. Of course it's not going to take itself
exactly.
seriously.
So I don't think...
I'm interested. I want to see what Telltale's going to do with it.
But I don't think it's going to matter to me about doing it episode after episode like I'm doing this. I don't think that the emotion's not going to be there between playthroughs type stuff. I don't think it's going to be there. It's going to be like sitting down watching a sitcom.
Yeah.
That just happens to be 5 episodes long and carries over from episode to episode. Probably, I don't actually know. So, I'm really interested to see what they do with Game of Thrones, how they're going to pull that off. That's an interesting one.
Never seen that show.
Have they even said if it's going to... where it takes place in the...
They haven't said anything about it other than announced it. They have said nothing. So I don't know when that is due, but they haven't said anything about it. At least as far as I know, they haven't said anything about it. So do not know. I was just looking over some of the chat rooms conversation that they have going on.
Yeah, some talk about...
Voltal has missed the past 5 minutes, but the comments he finds very amusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, SDM Fuller's like, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to skip the Borderlands Telltale thing.
Which is fine. I mean, depends on how much you like Borderlands.
See, I probably am too, because I'm not into Borderlands.
I
was in the first one. We played around with the first one a little bit. But no, I barely touched the second.
I like their sense of humor well enough. It's just one of those games, I had the same problem with Dead Island. I can't play it single player. It's a game that, like, if you're not playing with more than one person in there, it's just kind of this empty world, and you feel like you should have somebody else there with you.
I gotta admit, Dead Island it held my interest for a brief moment, but it started feeling tedious.
Yeah.
After that first couple hours, it started feeling real tedious, basically because how quickly your equipment degraded.
Equipment degrades. You couldn't take many hits even from regular zombies.
No, I mean, yeah, but I mean,
I mean, not that it was a big hassle.
Yeah, I mean, you could get away from it if you played your cards right. But I like 2 or 3 swings with the weapon I had, and it's already down, degrading badly. I'm like, my goodness. Yeah, that's what started to get tedious for me.
Dead Island was a game I was surprised to see a sequel from.
Yeah,
I don't think it didn't.
It's not the same developer either, because they're working on Dying Light right now. So I'm interested to see what happens.
And Jaeger were the guys who did Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah,
and they're doing
which
a sequel
I've not played that yet, but I've heard it's worth playing.
I think it was free on PlayStation Plus a while back.
Which one?
Spec Ops.
Spec Ops. It was.
Yeah.
Maybe I have it then. I don't know. It might be in there in the.
When it hits Steam sales, it gets extremely cheap. So, which, by the way, we got done with Steam sales, and maybe we'll talk about that next week because we're running out of time. But last week we were talking about how everybody was doing the race thing, and then the last day of the thing, all the teams were pretty much neck and neck. And I said, "There's no way that Steam isn't just making it this way." But there was a clear winner at the end, which, by the way, go Red Team. That was me. I was on Red Team. So, yeah. Did I get anything special for it? No, I got a nice little badge. But everybody got a badge for the team that they were on. I got a little, so, whatever.
Yeah. In the end, Valve wins.
Always. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream or on the radio. We want to thank everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Go to ingamechat.net. You can join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at coloniagamers.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play with games with us and other listeners as well. So thanks, everybody, for checking us out. Have a great week. Here's music from Saints Row 3. We will see you next Saturday.